is going to be the ball game. 6, 5, 4, 3. They can't snap it. They can't stop it. They can't win it. Alabama wins the ball game.
Derek Thomas, linebacker, Alabama.
He was a nightmare for people that had to try to prepare for him because he had unique skills.
Just go get the quarterback. I felt sorry for some of those poor tackles that came in and had to go against him because they didn't realize what they were getting themselves into.
Hey, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun. Woo! Woo!
Son, I gotta do better than this.
Lights out.
Sacking the cornerback is just like you devastate a city, or you cream a multitude of people. I mean, it's just like you put all the offensive players in one bag, and I just take a baseball bat and beat on the bag. So each time he came over there, I tried to tear his damn head off.
Let's play some football. Let's play some football.
The pressure is on. This is Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Focus on what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. Think about that. Don't think about how you feel, how tired you are, how hot it is. You got to push yourself on the field when you're playing football.
It's my honor to present the National Championship Trophy to Coach Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide.
To me, this is the ultimate team. All these guys bought into everything they needed to do to be the best players that they could be. There's more togetherness on this team than almost any team that we've ever had. And they had to overcome and persevere so much adversity through this season, and they've done it magnificently. And I'm so proud of this group for what they've been able to accomplish and going undefeated and winning the national championship.
Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Hello there, welcome into Off the Edge. I am your host, Jacob Harrison. I've got Tommy Paradise in with us tonight. Producing the show, we've got a lot to get into. You know, the namesake of the show is Off the Edge, so I figure why not actually start talking about some edge rushers. Let's give some love to Will Anderson. Let's give some love to Chris Allen. Let's give some love to the incoming freshman, Keanu Coe. How about Drew Sanders? How about Chris Braswell? How about we enjoy a time in Alabama Crimson Tide football where other teams, even in the SEC, are living off throwing the football, and let's give these guys some love, because for the first time in a long time, we've got some elite guys on the edge, and we should talk about them. We've talked about quarterbacks for quite a while now, so why not get into the conversation talking about edge rushers? So throughout the show, I encourage you to convene with us, converse with us in the chats on whatever stream you're watching, or you can call in 205-409-7877 and join us in the conversation about the edge rushers. I want to know who your favorite pass rusher is in the past 20 seasons. I mean, the conversation was had about quarterbacks, and we kind of turned that into Alabama quarterbacks, but what about Alabama edge rushers? There's been some great ones over the time, you know. Nonetheless, there have not been a lot to go to the NFL and find any real success. So I'm curious who your favorite pass rushers have been over the past 20 seasons that have suited up for the Crimson Tide. I would say of all time, but then we'd all just say Derek Thomas. There's a reason he is featured so prominently and heavily within our wonderful intro. But speaking of the stream and speaking of chatting it up with us, I encourage you, if you're on the road and you're about to get home for the night, to head on over to Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube and catch the live stream so that you can interact with the show and we can see your comments and have some fun talking about all the fun topics that we're going to get into tonight. And again, I want to emphasize that either getting us to 250 followers on Twitter or 50 followers on Twitch, those are the two ways, one or the other, whichever one happens first, and we are doing this thing. I've got the NCAA 14 Alabama Crimson Tide Dynasty ready to go, and I'm ready to jump into it. All we need are the 50 followers on Twitch or the 250 followers on Twitter. One or the other will unlock that thing, and we will set down a time, and every single week, maybe once or twice, we'll dive into an Alabama Crimson Tide Dynasty on NCAA 14 college football revamp, just to get excited. We're one of these days in the near future, it's probably 2 years from now, we're going to have EA Sports College Football return. So why not celebrate that along the way and win some natties with the old Alabama Crimson Tide in the virtual world? Got to give a shout out, as always, to the guys at Alabama Vintage. AlabamaVTG.com is how you can enjoy their online store, but I highly encourage you to take a trip over to 2210 University Boulevard and see these guys and what they've got for you in person, because they have got some incredible vintage Alabama Crimson Tide gear, regardless of what your needs. If you need to get fitted, you need that sports jacket, or you need some tennis shoes to complete your look, they've got vintage quality items for you there. Maybe a good old snapback hat, whatever you need, or maybe you need to deck out your house or your man cave, your lady cave, whatever the case may be. They've got trinkets and wall hangers and cutouts, all sorts of stuff that you can peruse there and take home with you. Go see Charlie and the guys at Alabama Vintage, 2210 University Boulevard, under the Crimson Awning, across from City Hall. So I said I wanted to talk about the edge rushers that the Alabama Crimson Tide are employing these days. You look back and you got your Tim Williams, you got your Ryan Anderson. That's kind of the extent of it, right? I mean, Courtney Upshaw was good. Versatile guy, played inside and outside. Donta Hightower was great. Mostly an interior guy, but he played off the edge quite a bit. But there was that lull where Ayabi Anoma, not Emil Ekiyor, Tommy, Ayabi Anoma.
We remembered the name,
We
folks.
remembered the right guard of the Alabama Crimson Tide is Emil Ekiyor. If you missed any show, you can always go to the podcast center, Tide109.com, and check out the previous conversations we've had here on Off the Edge. A little callback Friday night there. Ayabi Anoma, Antonio Alfano, these guys were number one recruits. If you look back into the history vault on 247sports.com, on Bama Online, and see who the main guys were, it was these two guys kind of sitting there in the top 10, and they never played it down for Alabama. And it was really disappointing, and it really set the Crimson Tide back. I remember going into last season, and that was the big stress for me, is these teams are going to start throwing the ball a little bit more. You've got to be able yourself to rush the passer and affect the passer. As Nick Saban says, you don't necessarily have to sack the quarterback, but you do have to put pressure on him. And that's where we come in with Will Anderson, the Terminator, who, from game one against Missouri, came out there and was just a menace. They called him the Terminator in the post-game conference. It was Mac Jones and Steve Sarkisian calling the guy the Terminator, the guy that he just wreaks havoc everywhere he goes. And, he gets there, the old cliche, he's going to come back. He's going to be there again. And, despite not getting a sack for the first half of the season, he led the SEC in pressures, in total pressures. And, you're talking about some really good SEC pass rushers now. Of course, this goes away right when I need to look at it. But, Azeez Ojulari is a guy that's going to be in the NFL, first-round pick most likely this year. You're competing with guys on your own team. Christian Barmore was a guy up the middle that everyone expected to play extremely well. There's always guys in the SEC that are going to get after quarterbacks, and they're going to be in the backfield quite a bit. And lo and behold, Will Anderson, 7 sacks, and Chris Allen himself had 6. And they combined with Christian Barmore's 8 sacks to create a pass rush that was very, very effective, and it allowed for the Crimson Tide to be very effective down the stretch, especially in the playoffs, where these guys played out of their minds against Ohio State in the national championship. So, just to focus on one guy right now, and we'll get to the next later. Let's start with Will Anderson, because this is a guy that has quickly evolved into one of my favorite athletes for the Alabama Crimson Tide football team, and I can't wait to see what he's got for the sequel here in 2021, because I think he's already one of the best pass rushers in all of college football. You don't lead the league in pressures and nearly lead the SEC in sacks. Now, you came in 3rd in sacks on half a season's worth of production, basically. First off, he was in a rotation quite a bit. If they had to go into a heavy package, Chris Allen stayed on the field, and Will Anderson would be the one to come off. That's the experience coming into play. Chris Allen going to be that returning senior this year. But he was still effective in the run game, and we saw that against Missouri. It's not just the pass rushing abilities that catch your eye when it comes to Will Anderson, and that's the impressive part. Because I can't tell you, I've watched film on a lot of edge rushers, and I remember watching film on on Chase Young when he was headed to the NFL draft, and there would be plays, run plays especially, that would go away from him, and he just wasn't interested. That's not what was going to make him his money as a top 5 pick. He just kind of allowed those plays to happen. But, if something came to him, he was going to destroy it. He was going to, blow everything up. And that's all well and good. That's not how Will Anderson plays football. If you TJ Watt, I got to, of course, I got to make the Steelers reference, but let's not act like he's not, a top 5 pass rusher in the NFL. But one of his callings as an edge defender is being that backside defender on run plays that go away from him, and he chases those things down on the regular. Will Anderson's the same kind of cat. He's not interested in things that come at him solely. He is interested in destroying every single play, regardless of where it is on the field, and that's what's so impressive about him. I remember in that Missouri game how many times he came so close to making a tackle, and how many plays he disrupted without a statistic being recorded. He was destroying whoever did not keep the ball on some of those option plays. And then throughout the season, it started to evolve into a guy that was creating more and more pressure against opposing quarterbacks. And for me, that was something that was extremely enjoyable, especially with all the concerns that I had. Now look, Alabama, as I mentioned, Antonio Alfano and Ayabi Anoma never playing it down for Alabama for several reasons, and most of them self-inflicted. It really set the Crimson Tide back. That's why Will Anderson was in a position to be a starter, and why it was such a worry of mine. You had Chris Allen coming back, and you had King Makuta and Ben Davis. And between all of them, they had a 1.5 sacks combined between the 3 of them. And King Makuta wasn't a guy that you felt comfortable at the time being a starter. Ben Davis, throughout his career, was not a guy that was ready to be a starter. So it was really the question of who. Was it going to be Will Anderson, Drew Sanders, or was it going to be Chris Braswell that was going to step in, be the opposite of Chris Allen, and become really the first edge pass rusher that we can appreciate here at Alabama in a long time? Now listen, you can go back to the early parts of the 2000s and look at guys like Wallace Gilberry, who had a ton of success in the top 10s of sacks. You can look back to Ryan Anderson, as I mentioned, to Tim Williams, as I mentioned. And all 3 of those guys are in the top 10s of sacks all time. But we're also talking about guys that only had about 20 sacks in their entire career. Now, when Will Anderson departs in 2 years, in all likelihood, probably going to be around a 25 sack guy, unless he has 2 seasons with 10 sacks apiece. But I think this guy is just cut from a completely different mold, and those guys are great. Those guys are NFL contributors. Those guys were highly respected going into the NFL draft. Tim Williams was at one time projected to be a first rounder, ended up going in the 4th. Ryan Anderson was a second-round pick by the Washington football team. And, he's going to be pretty well sought after here in free agency. He's not going to return with Washington due to, Chase Young and Montez Sweat being who they are as ferocious pass rushers. But when it comes to Will Anderson, he was the guy that stepped up. He was the guy that created for himself an opportunity to go out there and wreak havoc, and he did it on every single opportunity he got. And what I really, really loved about him was the violence. And I've said it before, and I'll say it for as long as it needs being said. I respect the direction of safety in this sport. I really do. I don't want to see dudes with CTE struggling to live after they play football. Okay, I've had those moments, and I didn't play football for a long time. Feel right, and I'm not saying like I have CTE or whatever like that, or anything even remotely close. But I understand how important it is for these guys to feel safe. But at the same time, there's nothing better than still within the frame of today's rulebook, still being an incredibly violent player. Because there's still space for defense in college football. There's still space for defense in football at every level. You can still be violent in this sport. You can use your hands for violence. You can use your body for violence, and you can impact the way an offense feels in a football game. And there's nothing better. There's absolutely nothing better as a defender than imposing your will and making the offensive player think about what you are capable of doing to him should he get the football or should he be tasked with blocking you. There's no better feeling except maybe sacking the quarterback himself. And Will Anderson is the kind of guy that impacts the game that way. His stats are great for a freshman. He should have been SEC Freshman of the Year. Him and Malachi Moore should have shared that award, but it would have ended up resulting in nearly a clean sweep for the Alabama Crimson Tide, so the SEC couldn't do it. So they go and they hand it to Missouri's quarterback who only played half the season. Whatever. But this is a guy that impacts the game. And you want to talk about Pete Golding's defense and how concerning it can be, how worrisome we can be about all the points that are given up and players being out of position and all this yin-yang. This is a guy that's never out of position. This is a guy that makes every single play. And that's not rat poison. That's not that's the truth about Will Anderson. This guy has what it takes to not only be a legend here, but be a legend in the NFL too. You cannot say enough good things about Will Anderson. And I'm so excited to see what he's going to do in 2021, him and the rest of the pass rushers. And we're going to talk about the pass rushers throughout the night. I want to hear what you think about these pass rushers. If there's a guy on the team right now that you're feeling, whether it's Will Anderson or Chris Allen, whoever it may be, maybe it's a guy like Keanu Coate who's coming in and he's maybe a little bit undersized, but he brings that speed and he can be a rotational guy to give somebody a breather. Or maybe you think it's time for Chris Braswell or Drew Sanders to step up. I'd love to hear what you think about that. You can join us in the chats on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, or you can call in 205-409-7877. And throughout the night, I want to know who your favorite Crimson Tide pass rusher of the past 20 years can be. I'd prefer it to be an edge rusher, but hey, Jonathan Allen is second all-time in sacks at Alabama in Alabama Crimson Tide history. He's the only guy to be within half as many sacks as Derek Thomas. The only guy. And he was an interior rusher. So you can give some love to Jonathan Allen, too, if you'd like. Call in or jump in the chats. I encourage you, if you're in the chats or if you're in the streams, to give us a follow, hit the like buttons, hit the subscription button, and help join or help build up the show a little bit in that regard. If you're on the YouTube, I strongly encourage you hitting that subscribe button, because every single day you will get the best segments of this show uploaded live to YouTube, and you can enjoy that there. Twitter for instant analysis at OffTheEdge109. Twitch is the place you want to be if you want to see the gaming streams take off for this show, as we kind of try to evolve what sports radio can be here. And of course, You can keep up with all things Off the Edge on Facebook by hitting the like button there as well. We'll be right back with more Off the Edge right here on Tide 100.9, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
Fear, guilt, indecision. These raw feelings are common when users witness an opioid overdose. As a bystander, fear and indecision may race through your mind, but it's vital that you call for help. Alabama's Good Samaritan law protects the... Any update? Find out more about Alabama's Good Samaritan.
Yeah, that just makes me worried. If he's not talking, if he's not responding, where is he? I could try and call him.
That's fine.
Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.
Nothing. So we'll just play it by ear, I guess.
Has tools that can help your business stand out and grow today. Log on to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free local market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses in town are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with TownSquare. Plus, be one of the first business owners to sign up with TownSquare and receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Start growing your business today. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
Hello there, welcome back into Off the Edge. My name is Jacob Harrison. I'm so glad you're joining us. I hope you join us on the live streams again. If you're just getting home, maybe you want to continue to enjoy the show, I strongly encourage you. Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, or YouTube, all of the handles are at Off the Edge 109, and you can enjoy the show that way as well. And if you ever miss any segments in the show, maybe you caught the tail end of that Will Anderson conversation, you want to go back and hear some more thoughts on that, you can always check us out, tide109.com, and head to that podcast center and you can enjoy the show there as well. Big weekend in Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We'll dive into that a little bit later. We got the SEC tourney coming up. The SEC champion Alabama Crimson Tide set to take on either Georgia or Kentucky. I feel like I got that wrong. If I got that wrong, I'll correct it in a second. But
Kentucky or Miss State, I think.
Yeah, Kentucky or Mississippi State. That's it. And regardless, that's not as easy as what Arkansas is possibly looking at. But it is what it is. The Alabama Crimson Tide, nonetheless, in a position to double up as SEC champions and possibly carry that tourney just as well. So that is something to look forward to. We'll dive into that a little bit later. Also, the news of the day here in Tuscaloosa was Tanner Bailey, the four-star quarterback of the Gordo Green Wave, committing to the University of Oregon to play with Coach Mario Cristobal and the Fighting Ducks of Eugene, Oregon. First of all, well-deserved. One of the best players in the entire region. We got to cover Gordo very closely as a part of Friday Night Lights and all of our high school football coverage that we had during the high school football season. And Gordo come up just short against Hanley in Bryant-Denny Stadium for the 4A state title. But nonetheless, he will get a chance to run it back. And hopefully next year there won't be any COVID to slow down the Gordo Green Wave. And hopefully he has a clean bill of health too. He did miss some time last year with a shoulder injury. But nonetheless, the kid commits to Oregon. That's another thing we're going to dive into. And I got to say, as excited as I am for him, and just as a quick little tease, his phone was pretty busy today, and I tried to get him on tonight. But we're going to effort throughout the week and try to get him on for Friday, get his thoughts on heading over to play with Cristobal and the Ducks, and what all went into his decision. But as excited as I am for him, I got to say, we're going to have a conversation about talking about recruits here in a little bit. Just so you know, just a quick little tease. Tonight we're talking all about edge rushers. I want to give some love to the namesake of the show, the guys that get it done on the edge. They set the edge in the run game. They get after the quarterback in the passing game. They're arguably the most athletic guys on the field at any given point. I love me some edge rushers, especially in a 3-4 defense, by the way. Like, it warms my soul that the Alabama Crimson Tide runs a 3-4. I know a lot of people think it's an outdated scheme and it just doesn't work anymore. I say it works better, especially now that defenses are evolving into a nickel base. I don't understand how you could want anything different, because in 3-4 defensive schemes, I feel like you get the most athleticism out of your edge rushers. You get guys that can rush the passer just as well as they can drop back into coverage for a good zone blitz. You get big, nasty defensive linemen who can push the middle of the pocket but are just as good at stopping the run. You allow your linebackers, your off-ball linebackers, to run all over the field, and if you got a great nickel safety or a nickel corner, whatever you want to refer to him as, a guy like Malachi Moore, you can just decimate offenses. Especially now for this 2021 rendition of the Crimson Tide, where only 3 defenders are going to have to be replaced, and you feel good about all their replacements. I'm excited about the 2021 defense, and we're going to dive into that some more throughout the night. We are going to wrap up the first half hour of the show and catch up on our time, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about a guy named Chris Allen. A guy that I was not a fan of early in the season, and throughout the 2020 campaign made me a true fan. That and so much more. If you want to join the conversation, hit us up in the chats on all the streams or call in 205-409-7877. I'm Jacob Harrison. We got intern Michael and Tommy Paradise behind the glass, pushing the right buttons. Michael's going to press the special one that sends us to break right here on Tide 100.9.
What can give you a competitive edge in today's red-hot housing market? Rocket can. That's because Rocket Mortgage can give you a verified approval. It could help your offer stand out. Rocket Technology provides a rock-solid verification of your income, assets, and credit, giving sellers greater confidence in you. Go to rocketmortgage.com or call us today at 8338-ROCKET.
A verified approval is based on an underwriter's analysis of your individual financial information, appraisal, and title report. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states and MLS. Consumer Access at number 33.
Hey Tuscaloosa, get extra mileage from your government stimulus checks during the Car Lock Double Down event. All month long, Car Lock Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram of Tuscaloosa will double your stimulus, up to $2,800 when you purchase a new Chrysler Dodge Jeep or Ram vehicle. That's right, we'll double your stimulus up to $2,800 so you can use it towards your new car. Plus, take advantage of special offers during Ram Truck Month and Jeep Celebration Days. The Car Lock Double Down Stimulus event and CDJR event savings this month only at Car Lock of Tuscaloosa. Must finance through Chrysler Financial to qualify. See dealer for details. Offer valid through March 31st, 2021.
Today on Hey Culligan, hard water hurts appliances. Go for Glenn in Glenview.
Yeah, hey Culligan, my appliances aren't that old and they're already on the fritz.
Sounds like your hard water might be giving your water appliances a hard time, but there is hope in the form of a Culligan high-efficiency water softener that helps extend the life of dishwashers, washing machines, heating systems.
Okay, hey Culligan?
Yeah, Glenn?
Yeah, hook me up.
Glenn, one high-efficiency appliance-saving softener already on the way. Let us help you out with a free in-home water test with a local Culligan water expert at Culligan.com.
Does learning a language feel like this?
No habla español?
Hablo.
It's hablo?
Yes.
It's hablo.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
Since my husband is from Guatemala, I'll apply what I've learned in Babbel to our real-life situations.
The app is so easy to use and it's so practical. It helps you learn things that you will actually need.
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at babbel.com. That's babbel.com, BABBEL.com.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
We aren't going anywhere. Off the Edge is available in the podcast center on Tide100.9.com.
I love the energy, Tommy. Off the edge. Always heavy, always hitting hard. Oh my, y'all are giving me some fuel. Let me tell you, y'all are giving me some fuel. We are going to jump into this Tanner Bailey thing. Somebody ain't ever taught y'all how to not tweet at recruits and not talk trash about recruits, especially when they can't even see. That was some keyboard warriors. Let me tell you, we're going to jump into this, and I can't wait. I'm going to stave my anger. That's the one thing I'm yelling about tonight. Tommy, as we were getting ready for the show, asked me what I was going to yell about tonight. I guess I tend to do that quite a bit. Last Friday it was all about Les Miles. If you missed that conversation, me and Tommy got really heated, really annoyed and upset and whatnot. If you missed that conversation, head on over to YouTube. It's the fastest way to find it. And you can see our instant reaction to Les Miles being put on leave at Kansas. And due to the sexual allegations being presented against him from his time at LSU, at Off the Edge is the YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button if you enjoy what you see. I wanted to talk about Chris Allen. Look, 6'4", 250, what more could you ask for? Well, you could ask for a guy that sets the edge. I was incredibly critical of his ability to set the edge in the run game. And I probably wasn't being fair. If there was one guy last year that I wasn't being fair of, it was Chris Allen. I expected way more out of the guy because I saw Will Anderson. I saw Will Anderson doing things we hadn't seen an edge rusher do here at Alabama in a long, long time. And I was excited, and I was hoping it was just gonna rub off on everybody else, and we were going to see an entire band of warriors on the edge just dominating opposing tackles and stuffing every attempt to go outside and get to the passer quite a bit. I was too quick to judge on Chris Allen. And if you listened back on Friday Night Lights, or if you were with me and Kerry then, me and Kerry Clark, for our high school football coverage, we also talked a lot about the Crimson Tide and then the post-game shows. And I was overly critical, and I'm here to admit that. I'll always admit when I'm wrong. As we get closer to the football season, I'm going to have some takes. I got one that I'm thinking of right now that I don't want to say until I see some things happen at the spring game. But I got a good feeling I'll be wrong about it. It won't stop me from saying it, but I got a good feeling I'll be wrong about it. And when I am wrong about it, I'll say it. Same thing with this Mac Jones thing. I think he's going to be incredibly successful no matter where he goes. Of course, I want him to go to a situation where he can be successful. That means not your Patriots, Michael. But that was a joke. I don't know why you're looking at me like that.
It might have been a joke. I was just curious what you meant by it. But I guess nothing.
No wide receivers, no running backs, no good offensive linemen. So the joke had merit. But that's all to say. I admit when I'm wrong. I always will. And I'll certainly pat myself on the back when I'm right too. But I won't be annoying about it. I promise. And with Chris Allen, I was wrong. Because throughout the season, he improved. There were a handful of times early in the year where he wasn't getting to the passer the way I had liked, and he wasn't setting the edge in the run game well at all. But throughout the season, he continued to improve. And I feel like he was on a similar trajectory as Will Anderson. While Will Anderson was doing a lot without getting stats, Chris Allen was being a leader, first of all, because he's one of the older players on the defense. But then secondly, he was starting to produce the stats. Throughout the 11-game season, he finishes with 37 tackles, 13 of those for a loss, and 6 of those were sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 recovered fumble. He became a playmaker. You compare that to his first 2 seasons where next to nothing happened. He only had the half sack, and he had to fill in a lot for Terrell Lewis. He grew up as a player. And now, going into a senior season where you've got a guy like Will Anderson opposite of you, if you can keep LeBron Ray, that'll help. If you can keep him healthy, that'll help a whole bunch for both of them. But you got Tim Smith coming in to play in the middle. You still got DJ Dale. He's got to stay healthy too. You got a real situation here to have bookend defensive ends, edge rushers, outside linebackers, whatever you want to call them, that can be very, very menacing to this entire conference. He had 6 sacks last year, and quite a bit of those came in the latter half of the year, right? If I can get this thing to pull up like it was supposed to. Quit clicking away. And actually, they were pretty well spread out throughout the year. I misremembered. But nonetheless, a guy that was very impressive throughout the year. A guy that was reliable and improved as the season went along. Of course, his best statistical game was against Mississippi when, nobody actually did anything of any value defensively in that game. But nonetheless, this Will Anderson guy is a guy that I'm excited to see. That being said, Will Anderson and Chris Allen, they can't do it all alone. So this is where I'm curious who's going to step up. Who's going to be the guy that can rotate in and be effective? Because you look at every team that runs a 3-4. You ask so much out of your edge defenders, whether it's stopping the run on the edge or it's chasing down plays away from you, getting to the quarterback, getting back into coverage. You need guys that can come in and rotate with these guys. Now, Will Anderson and Chris Allen really took on the bulk of the work last year. But who's going to be the guy that steps up? Can we see something out of Drew Sanders? We saw a lot out of Drew Sanders on special teams. Not that he made a lot of plays, but that's primarily where you saw him. He did get into some games later in the year. I don't know how much of a true impact he had given those opportunities. Wasn't as much of a liability, though. But nonetheless, his first impression was not one to be enjoyed. Late in a ball game where Coach Saban is always emphatic about doing the little things right and not giving them anything else. Close out the game and go home clean. He lets up a running back wheel route, something that's not easy to defend, especially as an edge defender, when you're expecting the other team to run the ball. But he allows the running back to get behind him. I want to say it was Maddie got behind him. It was a touchdown. And we really didn't see a whole lot out of him after that. Chris Braswell, a guy that came in a little undersized, didn't see a whole lot of him, period. King Makuta, a good run defender, I think. Maybe not so much the pass rusher, but nonetheless, he seems to be the guy, at least from a seniority standpoint, that you feel good about. But overall, that's where my concerns start to go. Now, when I say concerns, I don't mean it in the same breath as this time last year, where I was heavily concerned that there would be no production on the edge. You're going to have production on the edge from Anderson and Allen. But who's going to be the guys that help them stay clean, stay fresh? and stay active. Because whoever goes out there has to be active in their own room. And you got to see some production out of them. Michael, you keep grabbing the mic. You got a thought on this edge rusher situation for the 2021 Tide?
Yeah, you brought up Keanu Coate as a possible guy that could be someone who makes an impact next year, kind of next year's version of Will Anderson. We'd like to see a freshman, especially with the class we have coming in. So how about a guy like a Monkel Goodwine or even a Dallas Turner, someone like that?
Dallas Turner's the interesting one, I think.
He's a stud.
He's the 5-star.
Yeah, I believe he's the top 10 in the nation.
Yeah. If anybody could do it, I would expect him to be him. Now, all of these guys are undersized, especially Keanu Coate. Keanu Coate, think Leonard Floyd. Long, lanky, not necessarily powerful, but very, a good speed kind of guy, especially early. I don't know if he's going to be thick enough to play year one, to be honest with you, especially with COVID impacting workouts and that sort of thing. A guy that's got to put on weight, that's going to be a little bit difficult. But if any of those guys were to step up, I would put my money on the kid out of Florida.
The thing with Dallas Turner, he's not enrolled yet. He's signed, whereas a guy like Monkel Goodwine, they're actually very similar size. Turner's 6'4", 245, and Goodwine is 6'4", 260, so he's a little bit bigger. But he's been enrolled. He's been here for, I guess, probably at least a few weeks now, which definitely might put Dallas Turner a little bit behind the 8 ball.
It'll put you a little bit behind the 8 ball, so to speak, but I don't think it's not a death knell. I don't think. We talk about JoJo Earl a few weeks back when we were talking about our favorite freshman. He's the only wide receiver that's not enrolled, but I still would be at least somewhat shocked if he doesn't come out and find some way to work himself into the offenses, at least late in games. Because he has such tremendous speed. Now, Christian Leary is automatically going to have the head start on him as far as the freshman class goes, but a guy can always come in and create the most out of a situation, I believe. It just depends on their makeup. Being enrolled has nothing to do with your athletic ability. It just has to do with when you finish high school, and that's not a detriment to anybody in any sort of way. That's just circumstances. And regardless, I don't know how much of an advantage there is to be enrolled until COVID is done. And hopefully we're on the back end of it. It certainly looks like it is. It certainly looks like when football season does roll around, and maybe even to the summer months, we might be in a situation, certainly hope so, we might be in a situation where you can feel comfortable, with a better practice regime and summer camp and workout regime and those sorts of things. But I would put my money on Dallas Turner out of anybody, even if because he's already got the size and he's athletic. Being a 5-star helps, but that's not like the thing that does it. If Keanu Coate was 20 pounds heavier, I would say him because he's already here and he's got the speed. But when you're 215, 220 tops, that makes it really difficult to play in the SEC. But nonetheless, we do need to take a break, so we're going to hop in on that. I appreciate everybody joining us on the streams. You can feel free to jump in the chat. Let us know what you feel about the 2021 edge rusher class for the Crimson Tide. Who do you think is going to step up and help Will Anderson and Chris Allen get the job done as pass rushers and edge defenders? Also, would love to hear some thoughts on anybody's favorite pass rusher over the past 20 seasons for the Alabama Crimson Tide. You can call in 205-409-7877 to join the show. My name is Jacob Harrison. This is Off the Edge, and we'll be right back right after this with more Crimson Tide football talk.
What you doing? Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks Online in the Kicks Color Studio. I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
Shoe Station's spring sale is happening now, and you can save big on comfortable, stylish footwear from Skechers. Shop the latest Skechers collections, including Skechers Arch Fit and Skechers Max Cushioning. Text Station to 87573 for a 25% off coupon. Plus, go to youneednewshoes.com to enter to win free shoes for life or $10,000 cash. Shoe Station spring sale now through March 31st. Again, text Station to 87573 to save 25% on Skechers styles at Shoe Station.
Impress your family and friends for your big game party when you use kitchen equipment from Sanford Restaurant Equipment. They have electric and propane grills, fryers, and butane burners, large pots, chafing dishes, and disposable chafers to keep your food warm. All types of utensils including tongs, turners, meat tenderizers, beverage dispensers, and a huge selection of bar supplies. Make your big game party a breeze with kitchen equipment from Sanford Restaurant Equipment, just off Ridge Avenue before Dreamland in Northport.
Hello, this is Rick Crawford with Crawford Insurance. In the past, we've always been known for having real low car insurance rates. Now we would like to help you with all your personal insurance needs, auto, home, and life. We're able to shop through several insurance companies to find the right coverage at the lowest prices. Call us today at 205-752-6489 or come see us at 602 Skyland Boulevard East right next to Pizza Hut. You can also visit our website at CrawfordAutoInsurance.com where you can get a quote, pay your insurance, or even start a policy online. We look forward to hearing from you.
Our sky will stay clear tonight, the low at 39. Tomorrow and Wednesday, lots of sunshine both days with a warming trend. The high tomorrow 72, the high Wednesday 76. And a warm day on Thursday, the sky partly to mostly sunny, the high at 80. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 51 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Hello there, welcome back into the final segment of the first hour of Off the Edge on Tide 100.9. My name is Jay. Twitter, Twitch, or YouTube at Off the Edge 109. Join us in the chats. Let me know who your favorite pass rusher of the past 20 seasons is for the Crimson Tide. That's since 2000. I'm kind of a little partial to a few guys. We'll get Michael and Tommy's thoughts on this in just a bit. You can also call into the show 205-409-7877 and have your voice heard here on Off the Edge as well. So I wanted to quickly discuss a few things that are separate from the topic, and the first being that the Dallas Cowboys have signed their quarterback, and it's about time, right? On a very busy night for NFL news, a bunch of franchise tags being handed out, Brandon Scherf of the Washington football team, all these guys, Isaiah Wilson, the Titans getting traded to the Miami Dolphins for practically nothing. Very busy day for the NFL all told, but Dak Prescott finally gets a 4-year deal, which is what he really wanted. It's technically a 6-year deal that voids at 4 to help with the Cowboys cap situation, but he gets $160 million up to $164 million. The no trade clause is interesting. The no tag provision is obvious, and a guarantee of $126 million, which is very, very wealthy. He's the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Of course, that honor going to Patrick Mahomes being the top one. But what's interesting about this, out of everything, is that 6-year void at 4 deal. That feels like a serious loophole that I don't know if teams aren't taking advantage of enough, or that the NFL itself should really look at. There's, you know, I'm a Steelers fan. We're constantly in cap hell, constantly at the mercy of our best paid players. You know, everybody knows the situation with Ben Roethlisberger, how they had to cut his salary, and you know they gave him 2 ghost years basically on his contract so that they could save $15 million in cap space. You know, and other teams do these sorts of things all the time. You restructure a contract and you can just move where the money is against the cap for whatever season, right? But the ghost years is a really intriguing thing to me. It's something that I feel like I need to research on, but you don't even know where to begin on that sort of thing. But regardless, you know, Dak Prescott deserved that deal, I believe. You know, this was a situation I talked with Gary Harris a lot, you know, produce his show. We've talked about this situation a lot. And, you know, him and Barry Sanderson always joke and complain about ESPN only talking about this situation, but it was a very serious one because Dak Prescott was a guy that deserved a contract, had an unfortunate injury, and it put the Cowboys in a situation where, you know, despite Dak Prescott being legitimately the only reason the Cowboys were winning football games early in the season, it put him in a situation for them not to know, A, if he was going to come back and be the guy that he's been for them, and B, you know, if they didn't feel confident about him, or if they felt like they were in a situation to move on, which they halfway were. There's plenty of situations where they could have signed and traded Dak to play anywhere else and go get a big name quarterback and kind of reset the situation of the roster, because they're pressed on the cap too with all these big name players with big contracts. And nonetheless, here he is. You know, Jerry Jones could have looked like a real enemy, real villain in the NFL had he not signed Dak Prescott to this deal. But at the same time, you couldn't have blamed him if he wanted to move on. And it was a difficult situation. You know, while we're in the midst of Deshaun Watson wanting out of Houston and Houston not wanting to budge, and it being a situation where the owner is owning the player, which, you know, makes sense to a degree, but it's also kind of messed up when you think about it. And then when you got the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson naming the Cowboys as one of the teams he potentially wanted to play with, first of all, Joe Gaither did a backflip when he saw this, because it meant Russell Wilson was not going to go to the Cowboys. And it meant that Deshaun Watson would also not go to the Cowboys, and that gives one more slight opportunity to his Chicago Bears picking up one of these quarterbacks. And I still think they'll get one of them. I'm pretty confident in the Russell Wilson thing. I just got a feeling, you know. But I don't know. We'll see. I think this is this is the one chance for the Cowboys. They've got these 4 years to get something done, and if they don't, that's when you've got to move on. Dak too, because the roster has had too much talent on it to be this unsuccessful. And if in 4 years they can't even get to a Super Bowl, that's a marriage that needs to be divorced out of real quick. So back to the edge rusher topic. Whichever one of you guys wants to go first, I'll give mine in the second hour. Your favorite Alabama Crimson Tide pass rusher in the past 20 years. It can be an interior guy. Like I mentioned, Jonathan Allen's the only guy that's got even half as many sacks as the great Derek Thomas. But it's got to be the past 20 years, because I got to make him off limits, right?
This is just going to be a general question, and I might get attacked by some of your listeners, so I apologize in advance. Would Ryan Anderson count?
Yes.
This sounds silly, but Ryan Anderson is up there for me just because not only was he good, the personality just shined. And I know that sounds silly, but he said so many silly things. My favorite personal is like, we're not trying to play in the Birmingham Biscuit Bowl. The personality plus the play was perfect for me. I loved Ryan Anderson so much.
I got a funny story with Ryan Anderson.
Yes.
So he and TJ Yeldon after this.
Want professional tax prep at a great value? Jackson Hewitt has an offer you won't want to miss. For a limited time, we'll prepare your federal taxes for as little as $48 and no more than $179. That's right. Get federal taxes done for you by skilled Jackson Hewitt tax pros in Walmart for as little as $48 and no more than $179. This offer won't last. Terms apply. Stop by Jackson Hewitt in Walmart and get your coupon code and details.
Hey guys, I know that the stream is having some problems right now. There's really nothing I can do about it, so I just have to apologize and hope that you'll stick around. Feel free to use the chat function and like and subscribe, and bear with us as we deal with the internet here at work. It says that all systems are good right now. Hopefully it stays that way. Appreciate it, guys.
Straight talk, no contract, no compromise. Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel. Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the 5 words he spoke before leaving for his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. Words that live in veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians who go out of their way to find a way, who help others with the help of others, who bounce back after each setback, who make good on good intentions. Through Travis Manion Foundation, if not me, then who, are words that can live in you too. Show the world what your character is made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org. That's travismanion.org.
WTUG HD2 Northport and W265CG Tuscaloosa. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app. The pressure is on. This is Off the Edge on Tide 100.9. Streaming live on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and the Tide 100.9 app. Now, here is your host of Off the Edge, Jacob Harrison.
Welcome back into the second hour of Off the Edge. My name is Jacob Harrison. Glad that you're with us tonight on a Monday night. Having a lot of fun talking some defense and some memories on the old playing field. We're going to dive into a conversation about Tanner Bailey's commitment to Oregon here in a little bit. Going to get Michael's favorite pass rusher of the past 20 years for the Crimson Tide. The past, his entire lifetime. He's got quite an album to go through here. You can call into the show, give your opinion on those such things. 205-409-7877. I encourage you to head on over to Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, where the show is streaming live for you to enjoy. You can join us in the chats there as well. Ask any questions. Join the conversation in that way. Another thing I also can't wait to get into, because y'all still giving me ammo. You're still giving me ammo. We're going to talk about guys committing to play football and being happy for them instead of. We'll get there. Michael, I said that we would start off the second hour by hearing who your favorite pass rusher of the past 20 years has been for the Crimson Tide. Let's hear it, sir.
Well, as you said, yeah, the past 20 years would include my entire life. So I'll pick some more. I'll give you two, and I'll pick some more recent names for you. How about, you said we can use interior guys, so I would say the guy on defense I've had the most fun watching as a student has to be Quinnen Williams. Like, just watching him in that defense freshman. I mean, he completely really anchored that 2018 defense that, of course, ended up getting exposed by Trevor Lawrence, but it was pretty,
don't talk about that.
yeah, I mean, it was pretty damn dominant until that point. One of the best I've ever seen. And Quinnen was, at the center of all of it. And, just blowing up plays before they even got started. And yeah, I feel like he kind of came out of nowhere that year. I mean, not nowhere in terms of like he was hyped up a little bit, but I don't think anyone suspected him like developing into a top 5 pick in the draft that year. So Quinnen would be one, and then I'll throw a little Patriots bias in there for you and say Anthony Jennings.
Anthony Jennings was a severely underrated guy.
Yeah.
He and Isaiah Buggs were two guys that I enjoyed watching. And they had Christian with them as well. Like those guys were really, really good. And I don't think anybody really gave them that kind of credit. And like I even said the same. There's a serious gap between Tim Williams and Ryan Anderson being the pass rushers to now what we have in Will Anderson and Chris Allen. There's something to be extremely proud of here. But the pass rushing was incredibly inconsistent with these guys, and they're all in the NFL. Isaiah Buggs and Christian and your guy Jennings. But there's a reason to be excited now because there's a consistent pass rush, something to really enjoy. I'm going to throw out a biased one too. I mentioned how Ryan Anderson connected to my high school days. How about Wallace Gilberry? Gilberry's a guy that really doesn't get a lot of love, and I don't know of a harder worker in life, period. I went to the same high school as Wallace Gilberry. He's the only player to ever play in the NFL from my high school. And so, yeah, I'm biased when I say this, but nonetheless, 6th all-time in sacks, I want to say, in Crimson Tide history, and put in an 8-year career in the NFL, and he had no business. He's severely undersized. Teams, found ways to try to get rid of him, and it never paid off. Put in some incredible years, not only for the Kansas City Chiefs, where he got to start, but primarily with the Cincinnati Bengals. But nonetheless, I remember booting up NCAA 07 and NCAA 08, and Wallace Gilberry was the second best player on the Crimson Tide. Kenneth Darby was always number one. All-time leading carries in Crimson Tide history. Kenneth Darby. There's a little throwback for you. But Gilberry was always a fun guy to play with on that game. And then, of course, we saw him all the time around the high school too. And, I've had a few conversations with him before as well. And I hope one day to get him on the show. But nonetheless, that's a guy, as far as a retro pick as it comes to the past 20 years of Crimson Tide pass rushers, that's my guy. Now, you ask me this 3 years from now, it's probably going to be Will Anderson. I am hyped about Will Anderson. And I got to say, I'm hyped about this entire defense. I don't want to get too heavy into this because I want to tread carefully. But there's reason to be concerned about the offense heading into the 2021 season with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And that's something new for us, right? Because regardless, over the past few seasons, a great core of players has returned year in and year out on the offense. It's been a long time since we've seen 8 players from a Crimson Tide offense move on. That's a lot to replace. Do you always have to replace superstars and first rounders? Yeah. But to replace 8 guys is really worrisome. That being said, over the past 2 or 3 seasons, the defense has been disappointing. Have they progressively gotten better? Yes. People don't want to believe that. But yes, they have progressively gotten better. And this past season was a great defense, if you ask me. Did the Ole Miss game happen? Yes. Was that an exception to the rule? You bet. It was the only game that happened that way. Florida was a situation where the other team wants to win too, and the other team's got 3 incredible college players that all know how to move the ball, and they all know how to score. It's going to happen. The rules are in favor of the offense. And I'm a defensive guy. I've found positives within a lot of these defenses. Even the defense that went in and got torched by Trevor Lawrence. The positives that we took all season from that particular defense was they held teams to points, to a low amount of points, and they created turnovers. They didn't get a lot of sacks, which was the number one problem against Clemson. That game was completely won in the trenches. Clemson's defensive line had all the power, and Alabama's defensive line had none of it. And that's the name of the game. That's why it's such an important part of the field. But when it comes now to this 2021 defense, that only has to replace 3 players. And Patrick Surtain, all-time cornerback here at Alabama. So I get it. That's not going to be easy. I know a lot of fans are critical about Josh Jobe. And there are some times I don't blame him. There's a lot of other times where I say, well, this guy's getting all the targets headed his way, and he really handled himself very well. You got to replace Christian Barmore. Well, he did a lot of rotating early in the season, so how much are you really replacing Christian Barmore so much as just letting the next guy come in? If LeBron Ray is healthy, you're technically not replacing Christian Barmore, right? And you got to replace Dylan Moses, who, to be honest, for most of the season was a liability, especially in pass coverage. Chris Harris will take over at his spot, and we'll see who wins that other other off-ball linebacker spot. But there's a reason to be confident that that's going to be a strong point in the defense too. But then you look around, everybody else is young, and everybody else played incredibly well last year. Outside of LeBron Ray, who was hurt, every single other player that is returning played incredibly well last year. Was there reason to be concerned about guys like Wright and Helms? Yeah. But were they more exciting than not? I think so. Jordan Battle's a leader in the secondary now. Malachi Moore is one of the top playmakers on the defense. Christian Harris, probably the fastest linebacker in the entire SEC, possibly in the country. An absolute athletic freak at linebacker. You've got these edge rushers who have gushed over all night long in Will Anderson and Chris Allen. And you've also got Tim Smith up the middle who looked like a Christian Barmore in waiting. A guy that is just ferocious on the interior and gets it done. I think this is a season that a lot of Alabama fans who are fans of the way that earlier Nick Saban coached teams performed are going to really enjoy. I think this is a team that's going to rely heavily not only on the run on offense, but is going to rely on having one of the best defenses in all of college football to get them through. That said, take a look around the country. There's Sam Howell. There's Desmond Ridder. Those are probably the 2 best quarterbacks returning. And one plays in a group of 5 school and the other plays for a above average ACC school. DJ Uiagalelei is going to be incredible. He might finish the season as the best quarterback in the country. Unless Bryce Young or Paul Tyson, whoever wins the job, proves otherwise. You keep giving me that look. You can go back and listen back to the Friday show when we talked about how Paul Tyson could feasibly win the job.
Wasn't it you who wrote an article like a week ago? Make no mistake, Bryce Young will be leading the Crimson Tide in 2021.
Of course I did. I argued the other side of it too. And
I didn't read the article, to be fair. So.
What is wrong with you? What? I wouldn't say, what am I paying you for?
I'm not getting paid.
Exactly. So I guess you're held to no standard at all, Michael. Can't get good help these days, I swear. No, I was playing both sides of the argument, seeing how Bryce Young could feasibly lose the job and how Paul Tyson could feasibly win it. I still think Bryce Young will win the job regardless. But you look around the SEC, the kid up in Arkansas is pretty good. But outside of that, you really don't know. I mean, Emory Jones is expected to be good. JT Daniels is expected to be good. And JT Daniels had some very good games for Georgia. But those are the guys that you know about. You know, everybody else is kind of really an unknown. I mean, you can point to Bo Nix and say you know him, but you knew him in a completely different offense, and he's not good. He's not good. He's not good. He's not even below average. He's terrible. That's not hating Barners. That's not... Because how many times have I gotten behind this mic right here and respected the hell out of Cam Newton? Bo Nix is terrible. Tennessee might have a guy step up. I don't know. They had an exciting freshman last year, but who knows? Tennessee is bad overall. They're going to be in a bad way for a long time. So you kind of have an idea of the guys you're going to have to go up against, but give me this defense against JT Daniels. I don't care what JT Daniels has got coming back. I don't care if George Pickens is back. I don't. Their offensive line's probably going to be good. Great, that's fine. Give me this defense against JT Daniels. Give me this defense against Emory Jones. Give me this defense against the kid up in Arkansas who looked fantastic against Missouri. I'll take them all. I'm picking this defense against everybody in the country except for Sam Howell and DJ Uiagalelei. And odds are you're only going to have to play one of them. And odds are it's only going to be DJ Uiagalelei. And at that point in the season, I might feel even better about this defense because this is the best defense that the Crimson Tide has had in about 4 years. Since before Tua Tagovailoa took over. Since 2nd and 26 happened, basically, if you want to consider that being when Tua Tagovailoa took over, then fine. That previous sentence was not worth it, but that was the last time you felt really good about an Alabama Crimson Tide defense. And even that defense got lit up by Jake Fromm. Yikes. That was a good Georgia offense, don't get me wrong. But that was the last time you felt really good about a defense in Crimson. Ever since, it's been kind of downhill. And, as I talked about, the Yabi Anoma and Antonio Alfano situations played heavily into that. When you don't have edge rushers in a 3-4 defense, man, you've got nothing. I understand, you got Patrick Surtain out there, and you got Dylan Moses and Mac Wilson, guys that aren't bad. Quentin Williams coming through. We mentioned Isaiah Buggs and Anthony Jennings. These weren't bad players, but they couldn't make up for the lack of ability of dominant edge rushers. And now that that's what Alabama has, everything else comes into place, man. Because you know what makes Christian Harris's job 100 times easier? Is 2 people on the offense, possibly 3 or 4, being scared out of their minds over what Will Anderson and Chris Allen can do to them. And if LeBron Ray and Tim Smith and DJ Dale get a good rotation going, and Fedarian Mathis and a lot of these other interior guys get a good rotation going, that puts the entire offensive line and the quarterback on notice. And that creates a situation where this defense can be incredibly volatile. And that's what I'm looking forward to in 2021. I'm excited to see what happens with the offense. But I'm the most excited to see how this defense returns to form under Nick Saban and dominates the SEC as one of the best defenses in the entire country. Love to hear what you guys have to think about that. You can jump in our chats, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. Join the show, 205-409-7877 as well. My name is Jacob Harrison. This is Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
What you doing?
Designing my new 2021 Nissan Kicks Online in the Kicks Color Studio, I give each a special name. This one's electric blue, orange, red, white. I call it the gumball machine. You think it's me?
I feel like you're more of a red velvet guy.
Limitless possibilities. With over 100 million available color combinations and Bose Personal Plus system in the boldly new 2021 Nissan Kicks. Bose is a registered trademark of the Bose Corporation. Color combinations include interior and exterior colors. Customization is an available feature subject to availability at participating Nissan dealers. See dealer for details.
Want professional tax prep at a great value? Jackson Hewitt has an offer you won't want to miss. For a limited time, we'll prepare your federal taxes for as little as $48 and no more than $179. That's right. Get federal taxes done for you by skilled Jackson Hewitt tax pros in Walmart for as little as $48 and no more than $179. This offer won't last. Terms apply. Stop by Jackson Hewitt in Walmart and get your coupon code and details. That's Jackson Hewitt, conveniently located in Walmart.
It's time for some straight talk. Tax returns could look a little different this year. So when the big carriers start trying to get you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk Wireless, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get our unlimited plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense, tune into Straight Talk Wireless. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com. Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel. Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Follow Off the Edge on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube for live streams and instant analysis. Off the Edge with Jacob Harrison continues.
Welcome back into Off the Edge. My name is Jacob Harrison. Glad you're with us. I encourage you to check out Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com. Charlie and the guys brought an incredible idea to Tuscaloosa. Vintage Alabama gear of all kinds. Hats, t-shirts, shirts, sweaters. I do that every time. T-shirts, shirts. What's wrong with me? T-shirts, sweaters, jackets, shoes, you name it, they've got it. And if you need to deck out that man cave or lady cave, Alabama Crimson Tide, just do the whole house. You can do it. You want to do it. Go get everything you need at Alabama Vintage to give your style an upgrade. I promise you, Charlie has got something you are going to enjoy and going to want to take home. Go check them out. University Boulevard, 2210 University Boulevard, across from City Hall, under the Crimson awning. Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com. So, look. Today, Tanner Bailey, the starting quarterback, rising senior of the Gordo Green Wave, committed to play his collegiate football in Eugene, Oregon with Mario Cristobal in the Oregon Ducks. Now, a lot of people don't think of Oregon as some elite program, and those people are wrong, first of all. Oregon is an incredible program, top to bottom. You don't get guys like Kayvon Thibodeau and Justin Herbert for nothing. And you can joke about how Oregon hasn't done anything. They've been the most successful Pac-12 program over the past 10 years. They've been to 2 national championship games. You know, they're pretty good, I would say. And that's all well and good. Like, you can have your opinion on Oregon, though. I mean, you can be wrong about your opinion about Oregon, but it's all good. But what's not cool is when I write my article for Tide 109 about the news, and I share it to a bunch of Crimson Tide fans, and they're saying, I'm only worried about Archie Manning. We don't need him. We got Ty Simpson. Bama just got their 5-star. We don't need no 3-star commit. They don't want this kid. Oregon, LMAO, would never set foot at Alabama. He'd be the 4th string. The depth chart's way too deep, and I'm sure, you know, he must not need any national championship rings. His loss, I think, will survive. I'm done. You feel good about yourself? Do you? Are you an adult? Talking about an 18-year-old making a grand life decision that you could only imagine. Something that you could not fathom the difficulty of such a decision. When you grew up 35 minutes away from Tuscaloosa, played a state championship game and damn near won the thing despite missing half your junior year to a broken collarbone, you go in and you damn near win in Bryant-Denny Stadium while you're getting recruited by the team that dominates there week in and week out, year after year, winning natties left and right. And you think that it's up to him, you think that he is making a dumb decision? And that, like, he didn't think this through, and that you lost your ever-loving mind? This is the thing that I said I was going to be upset about tonight. Listen. It's a running joke, right? We get closer to National Signing Day. Don't tweet at Croots. Don't be that guy. Don't tweet at Croots. And yet people do it anyway. And you know, I can sit here and white knight for Tanner Bailey. You know, it's whatever. It's not like, you know, he's in these groups and he can see all of these ridiculous comments, which, first of all, is an even bigger thing. Like, you're such a grand human being that you're going to go in here and you're going to talk about this 18-year-old kid who made a life-altering decision to cross the country to go play football for one of the most premier programs in the entire country. You tell me right now Oregon's not a top 10 country. And if you say no, and you can't name 9 other programs better than Oregon, what are you talking about? Oregon is a top 10 program in the freaking country. They just had a quarterback get drafted 6th overall and win Rookie of the Year. 2 years ago, they were almost doing the college football playoff with said quarterback, and things just didn't bounce their way. Very well would have been in that playoff. Would they have won anything, made any noise? Who knows? Maybe we ought to expand the playoffs so we can see how those teams would perform. That's an argument for another day. The point stands that the reason this kid goes to Oregon is because they made him feel like a priority. He goes on his visit. Coaches are talking to him throughout the day. You think I'm making this up? You can go read it on Rivals.com when they announced his commitment. Mario Cristobal was heavily involved in his recruitment. You know what Nick Saban wasn't? He wasn't. You guys, you know, everybody wants to hop with Nick Saban and say, you know, oh, he gets all the best guys. Well, you know, here's a news flash for you. Nick Saban doesn't recruit every single player. A lot of assistant coaches do that. Joe Moorhead headed up his recruitment from the Oregon side of things. Mario Cristobal stepped in and made him feel like a priority. He felt wanted there. And yeah, Alabama signed Ty Simpson last week. And yeah, Arch Manning's on the the 23 prospect list. And I'm excited about Arch Manning. I'd love to see Arch Manning get here. People around here tell me to shut up about Arch Manning because for weeks now, I have been all over it, just gushing over the kid because I want him to play here. Why the hell would Arch Manning come here if Ty Simpson's here? Is the same exact argument you're giving about Tanner Bailey. Why would he come? Why did Jalen Milroe sign here? Why did Christian Story sign here? Why did Paul Tyson sign here the same year as Talia Tagovailoa? Why is Braxton Barker here? Why is Jeff George's kid here? Why is Stonebrook here? Why are all these quarterbacks here? For one reason or another. Most of them want to play, yeah. They want to create a situation for themselves. Why the hell did Mac Jones come to Alabama? Why does Tanner Bailey go to Oregon? You hear me say Mac Jones, or you hear me say Paul Tyson, and you either say legacy for guys like Paul Tyson and Braxton Barker, or with Mac Jones you say, oh, he's just a super competitor. He knew he could go in there and win the job. He knew he was going to have to be patient and get it done. I'm not going to lie. When I heard Ty Simpson say that I'm willing to be patient and wait my turn, I didn't like that. Because Mac Jones wasn't patient and waited his turn. He worked his ass off to be the best guy available when his time came. You can say that's being patient. To a degree, there are things out of his hands that he can't control. He couldn't control that Jalen Hurts had to be here for a year after he lost his job. You can't control that. You know what else he couldn't have controlled? Tua Tagovailoa coming back. Because had that happened, you'd have never heard of Mac Jones. Not in Alabama. He wouldn't have finished third in the Heisman last year. He wouldn't be a first-round quarterback going into this year's draft. Who knows where he would have played? It wouldn't have put him on the same sort of stage as Alabama. So yeah, you got a point. You want to be the guy, you come to Alabama. It's all well and good. And that's understandable from an Alabama fan's standpoint. But to sit behind your keyboard and talk trash about an 18-year-old that has made a decision that makes nothing but the best sense. Nothing but the best sense for him. Because how often do we see guys go somewhere and they really had no business being there? Talia Tagovailoa, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow. Who's that kid down in Miami that's been to like 13 different schools?
Tate Martell?
Yeah, that guy.
Not a fan of Tate Martell.
Not even a little
If
bit.
you've seen QB1 season 1, you know what I'm talking about. He's mean to his mom.
What a jerk. Derek King, no business being at Houston. Come on. It's not often that you have a situation similar to that of what Clemson's had over the past several years, right? Where you go from Deshaun Watson to Kelly Bryant to Trevor Lawrence coming in and just snatching the job. It's like, nope, that's mine. Thank you. I will be the quarterback. I am the captain now, right? And then you get DJ Uiagalelei to replace him. And you get 2 games to feel incredibly good about what you've got coming back for 2021. That just does not happen that often, right? It's a total crapshoot, but at the end of the day, these are 18-year-old young men making life-altering decisions, right? And they have to do what is best for them. Not what's best for you and your football team. Not what's best for what you think is best for them. They have to do what is best for them. And what's best for Tanner Bailey, in his mind, whether you agree with it or not, and whether you think that it's funny or not, is to go to Oregon and be the next in a long line of successful quarterbacks that have gotten opportunities in the NFL. And you can write off Tanner Bailey as, you know, a middle-of-the-road guy. First of all, he's a 4-star quarterback. Top 10 quarterback in the entire country. Highly recruited. Alabama did want him. You can laugh it off as, oh, well, you know, Alabama got the guy they wanted. You don't recruit a guy if you don't want him. Do you give uncommittable offers? Sure. Do you recruit 2 guys and have a preference over one? Yeah. But you're still recruiting the kid because you think he can play there. Tanner Bailey could play at Alabama. The funny part is that the same people, the same type of people laughing at Tanner Bailey and not, at the very least, just saying, congratulations, young man, you're making West Alabama proud, just for being successful in the first place, are the same people wanting Paul Tyson to be the starting quarterback this year. The same people. Even though what you're basing your argument off of with Tanner is star ratings and rankings, you think that Paul Tyson's going to waltz in to spring camp and take the job from a guy who beat him for it last year without spring training as a freshman. Really? That's what we're doing? You have no idea what can happen. Nobody saw Mac Jones coming. And even those of us that felt really confident about him heading into last year, that confidence only sprang from the fact that we got to see him because Tua Tagovailoa, the greatest quarterback to ever wear a crimson jersey, got hurt. Had 2 300-pound men fall on his hip wrong and nearly cost him his entire football career. And then, despite him wanting to come back, or so I've heard, reliably, he doesn't. You have no idea what can happen. And for all you know, Tanner Bailey could go up to Oregon and strip every record that says Joey Harrington or Marcus Mariota or Herbert. He can rip them all off and write Tanner Bailey in them. Every single person that got on this stupid app today, every single person that got on that stupid app today and talked trash about Tanner Bailey is an adult. Think about that. You think you know. I don't know. I just know that one of the most exciting players in West Alabama earned a scholarship to one of the top programs in the entire country. You should be proud of him. I know I am. Hopefully we can talk to him on Friday. My name is Jacob Harrison. This is Off the Edge. We'll be right back after this.
If you own a small business, you know how hard it can be to find new customers. Now, TownSquare has new tools that can help your business stand out and grow today. Go to GetLocalCustomersNow.com for a free local market competitive analysis that will show you what other businesses in town are doing to find new customers and how you can do it too with TownSquare. Plus, be one of the first business owners to sign up with TownSquare and receive $500 in free advertising on this radio station. Visit GetLocalCustomersNow.com.
Recover Now is a national campaign aimed at the education and awareness of the devastating effects of opioid and heroin abuse and curbing drug and alcohol addiction in the United States. Recover Now is sponsored by treatment facilities nationwide. Many of them have been where you are, and they want to help by spreading a message of hope and recovery. They're working hand in hand with major insurance companies nationwide that can help you or a loved one get clean in 7 to 30 days. Recover Now is embarking on a national outreach campaign on TV and radio to promote anti-addiction messages. So if you, a loved one, or someone you know has a problem with drugs or alcohol, do not wait. A new life for you could be 30 days away. Call us right now. I promise this call can change your life. Sponsored by the Detox and Treatment Helpline.
800-303-4607. 800-303-4607. That's 800-303-4607.
So you think you have unlimited data?
Recalculating.
30 seconds.
Think again. If you have unlimited data on a network you can't trust, your data is limited, and so are you. Set your smartphone free with the unlimited plan from Total Wireless. Get 4 lines with unlimited data on the nation's best network now with 5G. With 100 gigabytes at high speed, then 2G for just $25 a month per line.
You have arrived at your destination.
Get unlimited and save. Total Wireless. Do amazing. Available at Best Buy. See terms and conditions at TotalWireless.com.
We aren't going anywhere. Off the Edge is available in the podcast center on Tide100.9.com.
Welcome back into Off the Edge. Listen, there's a difference between being patient and working for what you want. It took a long time for me to get where I am today. That does not mean I was patient about it. That means I worked really hard for it. There's a difference. In reference to the Tanner Bailey conversation. If you missed that, it'll be on YouTube, I promise. That'll probably be the first one to go up. It'll probably be up tomorrow around 2:30. Let's talk some SEC tournament. Let's get excited a little bit. You know, let's stop being angry, even though people deserve it. Let's be excited because the SEC champions are leading the way in the SEC basketball tournament. Alabama will play on March 12th against the winner of Kentucky versus Mississippi State. Any other year you'd say, well, yeah, Kentucky's totally going to play that. They're going to be in the next round. They're going to play Alabama. This year, who knows? Kentucky's been up and down. Mississippi State has looked strong at times. Other times, not so much. There's a reason they're the 9th seed. Got to say, though, looking at the field, two things stand out to me. Number one, Arkansas, they've got it pretty easy here, having to play the winner of Missouri and Georgia. Very winnable game, no matter who comes out of that. Not that Alabama, is in any. I wouldn't say they're in a position to feel concerned, regardless of who wins out of Kentucky and Mississippi State. It just feels like they got a weird hand there where, the bracketing of this, where the number one team doesn't have to play some of the lower seeded teams. I mean, come on. How come we can't play Georgia? How come we can't play South Carolina or the winner of Vanderbilt and Texas A&M? Let's do that, right? Gotta say, looking over this thing, mighty nice to see 13 teams, and now one of them is Auburn. That's pretty nice. Keep growing that beard out, Bruce. It's the best looking thing about your entire program. Let's take a break, reset. I want to encourage you. If you listen to the show and you enjoy it, to head on over to Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Hit the subscribe, like, follow buttons, whatever pertains to each of those programs. And stay up to date with the shows. Twitch and Twitter, 2 conditions. We get to 50 followers on Twitch, 250 followers on Twitter. Whichever one comes first, we will start up that NCAA 14 dynasty with the Alabama Crimson Tide. Everything starts in 2020. We get that 2021 recruiting class, get the Brockmeyers, J.C. Latham in there, try to win over Tui Maloau. Have some fun with this, you know? Get us up to 50 followers on Twitch, 250 followers on Twitter, whichever one happens first, and we'll get that started, have a lot of fun, get a look back on what could have been had a COVID year not completely decimated the Crimson Tide's intended 2020 season as best as we can, and also get a preview into the future. We get this thing started in time, we can quickly move through that 2020 season, go win the 18th natty, and bring in Bryce Young and the guys. Maybe Paul Tyson, who knows? Maybe he'll win the job there too. We'll have some fun. Nonetheless, I encourage you to go do that. As always, you can always jump into the chats. We'd love to hear your thoughts on anything we talked about tonight, whether it's your favorite pass rusher over the past 20 years, or maybe you got a thought on this entire Tanner Bailey situation. 205-409-7877. We got one more segment to go here on the show. And one more thing I want to talk about, and I want to get Michael's thoughts on this, because he wrote the article about Jalen Hurts, who's finally getting backed, at least verbally, from the Philadelphia Eagles. And what if you're Jalen Hurts, what you want your team to do this offseason? We'll talk about that and more to close out the show right here on Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
And now more Straight Talk from Straight Talk.
This is the last break, right?
That's coverage.
Because they've got like a gajillion cell towers?
Something like that. But Straight Talk Wireless runs on those same towers, so you get the same great network for up to 50% less.
I wonder if they're counting that one in Kickapoo, Kansas.
Oh boy. Switch today and get our unlimited plan for just $45 a month with 25 gigs at high speeds and no contract. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
Want professional tax prep at a great value? Jackson Hewitt has an offer you won't want to miss. For a limited time, we'll prepare your federal taxes for as little as $48 and no more than $179. That's right. Get federal taxes done for you by skilled Jackson Hewitt tax pros in Walmart for as little as $48 and no more than $179. This offer won't last. Terms apply. Stop by Jackson Hewitt in Walmart and get your coupon code and details. That's Jackson Hewitt, conveniently located in Walmart.
It's time for some straight talk. Tax returns could look a little different this year. So when the big carriers start trying to get you to splurge on the latest nonsense, just tune it out. With Straight Talk Wireless, you can get a Samsung Galaxy A51 for just $199. Plus, get our unlimited plan with no contract on America's best networks for up to 50% less. Tune out the nonsense, tune in to Straight Talk Wireless. Straight Talk Wireless, no contract, no compromise.
Savings may vary. See straighttalk.com.
Shoe Station's spring sale is happening now, and you can save big on comfortable, stylish footwear from Skechers. Shop the latest Skechers collections, including Skechers Arch Fit and Skechers Max Cushioning. Text Station to 87573 for a 25% off coupon. Plus, go to youneednewshoes.com to enter to win free shoes for life or $10,000 cash. Shoe Station's spring sale now through March 31st. Again, text Station to 87573 to save 25% on Skechers styles at Shoe Station.
Our sky will stay clear tonight, the low at 39. Tomorrow and Wednesday, lots of sunshine both days with a warming trend. The high tomorrow 72, the high Wednesday 76. And a warm day on Thursday. The sky partly to mostly sunny, the high at 80. I'm James Spain on the ADC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 50 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
You're listening to Off the Edge on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back into the show. I'm Jacob Harrison, having fun with you on a Monday night. We're going to close this thing down with a little Jalen Hurts talk. And, sorry, there's like a ringing in my ear. We're going to close things down with a little Jalen Hurts talk. Owner of the Philadelphia Eagles, Jeff Lurie, has verbally and publicly backed Jalen Hurts as the starting quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this was entirely expected when Carson Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts, but nonetheless, now it is official. Hopefully now we'll stop seeing mock drafts that have the Philadelphia Eagles selecting a quarterback, because that wouldn't make any sense, because he just drafted one in the second round last year, and he looked pretty good in the 4 games that he got an opportunity in. But Michael, my question to you, man, is, if you're Jalen Hurts and you're in this situation, the team is strapped for cap. You mentioned it in your article on Tide109.com, kind of detailing the situation. The team is strapped for cap, and they're absolutely decimated at wide receiver. Zach Ertz is probably on his way out. It's highly expected that he's on his way out. Alshon Jeffrey hasn't been confirmed whether or not he's coming back, but you did lose Deshaun Jackson, your first-round wide receiver last year out of TCU. Not great. Jalen Reagor, didn't see a lot out of him. Nothing to feel particularly inspired about. Defense is getting older. The top pieces that they have on defense getting older. The offensive line still anchored by Lane Johnson. Kelsey is coming back. You got a few pieces there. Don't have a great left tackle. If you're Jalen Hurts, not that you're in necessarily a situation to tell the organization what you want, and hell, as we know, even if you are, a la Deshaun Watson or Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't mean that's what they'll actually do. Aaron Rodgers is still waiting for the Packers to spend a first-round pick on a wide receiver. What do you want the Philadelphia Eagles to spend that 6th overall pick on? Are you prioritized overly on the wide receivers? Do you need protection? What do you want if you're Jalen Hurts at that 6th overall pick?
Yeah, you brought up the receivers, and they certainly are completely depleted. Like you said, Deshaun Jackson's gone. You brought up Alshon Jeffrey. I'm pretty sure they released Alshon Jeffrey. I don't think he'll be back. So essentially, your top pass catcher returning, I guess you could say, is Jalen Reagor, but also Greg Ward, who is a quarterback at Houston. You got absolutely nothing in the receiving game, essentially. You have the 6th pick. There's going to be 2 solid options there, at least the receiver, in Devontae Smith and Jamar Chase. Not that they're both going to be there. I'm just assuming that at least one of the 2 will for sure be there. We'll see what Miami does at 3 if they want to reunite Tua and Devontae. That's a whole other conversation. But another guy who I think would make a little bit of sense for the Eagles, you brought up Zach Ertz, and I know they have a capable backup in Dallas Goedert. I like Dallas Goedert a lot, actually. But Kyle Pitts is really special. And I think Kyle Pitts, yes, 6 is a little bit early for him, but at the same time, I think he's going to be in that top 5 tight end in that elite tight end conversation, like within 3 years of his career. So if I'm Jalen Hurts, I want pass catchers, and more than anything, I want pass catchers because I need people to catch my passes. So I'm going with any of the 3 of Jamar Chase, Devontae, or Kyle Pitts. I'd be happy with.
I thought that's what you'd say. So my follow-up is which of the 3?
If they're all 3 there.
Sure.
I got to go with Devontae at that point. The little Alabama bias aside, maybe, but you could make the argument of Jamar too. Honestly, you can make the argument for any of the 3, but my Alabama bias screams that I would love to see Devontae Smith and Jalen Hurts.
So to crush that Alabama bias, even if Devontae's there, I still say you don't go in that direction because of what you spent your first round pick on last year. You spent your first round pick last year on a small speed guy, and that's what Devontae Smith is. At the very least, entering the league, Does that mean that he's not a number one wide receiver? No, it doesn't. It means you need to diversify what your wide receivers can do. You look around the league, and teams that have a lot of similarities in what their wide receivers do don't have a lot of success. I'm looking at your Patriots guy. A lot of guys that do the same stuff, and they're not very good. When I look at Tommy's wide receivers and his Atlanta Falcons, Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley play the game entirely different, and they're both number one guys. I look at my Steelers. You got 5 guys that can all catch the ball, and don't near one of them play the same as the other. Not that the Steelers have the most successful passing game in the league. I'm just, frame of reference. You want versatility in what your wide receivers can do. And that's why I would go with Jamar Chase if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles. I believe that the draft is about circumstances, not about the best player overall. If you simply take the best player overall every single year, you're bound to mess up and take a guy that doesn't actually fit what you do. Like if you've got the first overall pick and you need a left tackle and you just go take the best left tackle, but you run a zone scheme and he's a power guy, now you have to teach the best player how to do something that's not even in his repertoire. Like, yes, offensive linemen, they learn how to do both. I'm not ignorant to that. But, you want a guy based on his strengths. And to stop picking on your Patriots, what has Bill Belichick always done? He's always taken guys who can be successful in situations that he can put them in. Does he go out of his way to create successful situations for them? Yes, absolutely. But you didn't see Mac Jones running read options last year, right? Read options have been in the offense before. Right? Under Sarkisian. Why won't you? Because it wouldn't be in the best interest of the offense, because it's not in the best interest of Mac Jones. Even as coaches, something I'm glad that has evolved in the NFL is creating the offenses around the players rather than the players around the offense. And I think that's something that has evolved pretty well. And I look at what the Colts do or did last year, and you saw a lot of success. And what did they have? They had T.Y. Hilton. They had a great tight end. Mo Alley Cox really broke out last year. Of course, they got Doyle, who was good too. And they had the big guy, Michael Pittman, as the freshman, right? Or as the rookie. You can kind of build a similar offense that, obviously, Jalen Hurts is not Phillip Rivers. The offensive coordinator, the now head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, for those that don't know, was the offensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts last year. You can create a similar situation. If you can train up Jalen Reagor to be a T.Y. Hilton type player, you've got Dallas Goedert, who can potentially be a Mo Alley Cox type of guy, and you can make Jamar Chase your Michael Pittman. You might be putting Jalen Hurts in a position to succeed. And that's all any of us as Alabama fans and as fans of great quarterback play want to see, is a successful Jalen Hurts. We've had a lot of fun. I encourage you, hit up the Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube channels to join the show each and every Monday and Friday night. And check out Alabama Vintage, AlabamaVTG.com for all of your Alabama gear. My name is Jacob Harrison. I'll see you Wednesday on the R&R Cigar cast with Reagan Starner, and I'll be back on Friday on Tide 100.9. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Off the Edge.
Can't tell you how proud I am of our players, our team.
Join us every Monday from 8 to 10 and Friday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Tide 100.9.